Welcome back. So you should still be in sculpt mode. If you're not, just make sure that you have your snowman selected and then do object mode, sculpt, and that will bring you back into your sculpt mode. And again, we have our tools over here to the left that you can slide out if you need, or if you just want the icon, you can do that. But we'll leave it open just so you can see what all these are called. And there's a bunch down here. We're only going to just touch on a few. We could do a whole course on sculpting, but today I'm just going to we're just going to get our feet wet and just kind of show you the basics. So up at the top, we have our radius, which is just the size of our brush. So you can increase that just by sliding. But what I like to do is just hit F on the keyboard, and then you can slide and click and hit F and slide and click. And you'll do that very often. You also have the strength that you can do. We're just going to leave it at 0.5. That's just how hard the sculpting pushes or pulls. And then there's this little guy here for strength pressure. So if you're having if you have like a Wacom tablet or something, you can turn that on and off. I'm just going to leave it on, but I'm just using a mouse. And also, if you go over to the far right, you've got your tools here. That's all this stuff right here, but just in another form. It's just same thing as up here, but over here, and just a lot more options. We're not going to get too deep into this today. We'll keep it pretty simple. And again, like I said in the previous video, when you first switch into sculpt mode, it's going to be mirrored on the x-axis. And that's because a lot of times when people are sculpting, they're usually doing like characters and things, and it just takes half the workload out and makes it a little easier when sculpting. And you can always toggle it on and off when you need to. But enough of me jibber jabbering. Let's go ahead and start sculpting. So make sure you're in the front view. So just hit 1 on your numpad, and let's zoom in here on the snowman head. And I'm going to use a brush called Blob, and we are going to blob some eyeballs out. So just kind of find something here. I'm going to hit F and just kind of increase my size here, and look for the inner circle. That's about how big your brush is. And then the outer circle is kind of like the fall off. It's kind of feathering out softly. So we'll make it just a little bigger. And I'm going to do something right in here. You can put your eyes anywhere, but just somewhere in this ballpark, and just click a few times. Hey, those are a little too close, so I'm just going to do Control Z, kind of spread out just a little bit. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just look around. That looks pretty good. And one thing I like to do when I'm sculpting is make sure you're in solid mode, and you can click this little drop down here and switch your lighting to matte cap. And if you click on this little sphere here, you can pick all these different colors. A lot of people use this kind of red color. I like this one a lot too, but I really like this one. It's very funky, kind of rainbow psychedelic color. So I always use that one, and it just makes it a little easier to kind of see your shadowing and what you're doing when you're sculpting here. So we've got some blobby eyes. Go back to front view. Maybe pop these a little bit more, just to bug out some eyes like that. And then let's take another brush. Let's try this crease. And you can try any of these brushes, anytime, but just for this lesson, we'll just cover a few. And the crease brush does exactly what it sounds like. It's going to crease the edges here. So just kind of go around the outline of the eye and just kind of try and crease the eyes. These are like if, the eyes were little pieces of coal, and you can kind of see it's like pinching the snow or the eyes there, and just making a little ridge around the eyes. So that's pretty cool. So just kind of, hit that a little bit right there. That's pretty good. And now we're going to make the mouth. And one really cool thing about sculpting is that you can, if you just click with your mouse, it's going to do whatever the brush does. But if you hold Control, it'll do the opposite. So, if something is a blob, when you press it, and I'll just undo that. Whenever you hold Control, it's going to go inward. So you can you can get really creative. I kind of like that already. That's pretty cool. So let's just make him a little mouth like that. That's kind of funny. He's like, like he's scared. So I actually really like that. So I'm going to leave that. You can, widen it out if you want. I'm just going to keep clicking on that and kind of make his like he's really scared. So that's pretty cool. So I just did Control and click, and that made a little mouth there. And then another cool thing is pretty much on every brush, you can just hold shift while you have any brush selected, and it will smooth. So, really just sculpting is kind of like you kind of make some marks with your brush, and then you can smooth it out. So you're always kind of like making some marks and then smoothing out. That's what I do, at least. And so I just, you can smooth out some stuff there. Maybe smooth out some parts around the eye just by holding shift and clicking. There is a smooth brush, but just kind of get in the habit of holding shift if you want to smooth things. So I'm just going to smooth out the face a little bit, maybe up here around the eyes. And that's looking pretty good. Now let's use the inflate brush and just make some cheeks here maybe. So I'm just going to increase his cheeks ever so slightly. You can kind of see him starting to bulge here. And then maybe give him a little bit for his nose. And then maybe we'll use the draw tool and make our brush a little smaller and just give him some eyebrows there. So just kind of make some eyebrows. And again, I just kind of, I just think of sculpting as kind of like just messing stuff up and then smoothing it out. So I'm just shift clicking and just smoothing those eyebrows out just to kind of get some little eyebrow action. So I just smooth it out. That way it looks a little more natural, a little more, it's just softer. So now we've got some eyes. Let's smooth it out there. Maybe smooth our cheeks a little bit. And you can do anything you want. You don't have to follow me exactly as far as the face design. Just kind of have some fun. But as long as you have some eyes and a mouth, then we're good to go. So I'm going to smooth out some there. And then now let's go ahead and use the smooth tool. So like I said, you can use shift click for smoothing, but this is what the smooth tool will do. We can even increase the strength a little bit and just smooth out these creases that we did with the Boolean. And we did an auto Boolean, and that just applied the modifiers automatically. So that's why this mesh right here is kind of like one piece. It's if we had done just a brush Boolean, we wouldn't be able to do this. Blender would still see the objects as separate, two separate objects in sculpt mode. So that's why we did the destructive Boolean operation, just so we could kind of weld these together so we can sculpt them like this. And I'll show you the difference later in this lesson. But for now, just even out these hard edges around the snowman here and just kind of soften these up. And you can do it to your liking. It doesn't have to be, perfect, but, just kind of soften some of these lines up. So it just doesn't look so computery or, too perfect. There we go. So just kind of smooth that out. And that's looking pretty cool. Like it, that everything's kind of just circular. I really enjoy that. So let's add some blobs and make some buttons. So maybe we'll do like 3 buttons down the front. So I'm just going to hit 1, maybe bring this up just a little bit. And I want enough room to make 3 buttons. So I'm going to do maybe just a few clicks here right in the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then do one here. 1, 2. Oh, I'm a little crooked there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those are a little too close to each other. So I'm going to undo that just with Control Z. Sorry about that. And let's just make it one thing too that you can about sculpting is if you zoom in, the brush is going to get smaller. And, if you zoom out, the brush is going to get really big. So be cautious, of how much you're zooming in and out if you want your strokes to be similar sizes. So I'll make these just a little smaller. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that looks better. And then I'm going to zoom out and make these a little bigger. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I may smooth out this bottom one just a little bit, just so that we don't break our 45-degree rule. Let me go to the side and kind of soften that up just a little bit. There we go. And that's looking pretty good. So we've got our buttons, our mouth, some cheeks, and some eyebrows. So let's go ahead and jump into the next video where we're going to add some more details for the nose, the arms, and a little top hat.